Good morning. Good afternoon. So picky. Chad is so picky. Thank you very much for being here. I am pleased to be joined by my colleagues, the ranking member of the Science and Technology Committee, the ranking member of the Financial Services Committee, the ranking member of the Budget Committee, and Mr. Heck, who is a representative of the freshman class, but who himself was a very high-ranking leader in the legislature in Washington State, a very successful businessman who knows a lot about what we're talking about, and we're pleased to have him here as well. The Republican Ryan budget on the floor this week would be a disaster for our country and our economy in many ways. Among them, because it disinvests in manufacturing, job growth, and private sector competitiveness. As Budget Committee Ranking Member Chris Van Hollen will share with you in a few moments, the Ryan budget slashes $173 billion from infrastructure funding important to getting America's goods to market. It cuts jobs training programs that would benefit 3.5 million people who are currently out of work or seeking to advance in their careers, and halves federal spending and support for groundbreaking research that fuels innovation. It would reduce our long-term investments in education, innovation, and infrastructure by 18% over the next 10 years, compared to the budgets that was offered by the president. The Republican budget spending reductions starve the very programs that create the opportunities our people need to make it in America. You've heard us talk a lot about making it in America. Making it, of course, means manufacturing, growing products in America and selling them here and around the world, and creating the kind of good-paying jobs with opportunities that people need. Since this agenda was launched 4 years ago, the Make It in America plan for jobs and competitiveness has prompted members of Congress to turn a wide range of ideas to boost manufacture into concrete and, in many cases, bipartisan legislation. Last Congress, Democrats worked across the aisle to pass some Make It in America bills, but this Congress, most of the bills on our list have yet to be considered. That's a shame, especially because the majority of Americans are deeply concerned about job creation and recognize that investing in manufacturing and innovation are the keys to growing the number of high-skill, high-wage jobs that we need. I did a colloquy with Mr. Cantor last week and the week before and the week before that, and talked about bringing unemployment insurance to the floor. His response was what they really wanted to bring to the floor was legislation that expanded job opportunities and created jobs for those people who couldn't find them. We're for that. Now, we think we ought to take care of the short term, people who are in real distress and families in real distress now, and pass the unemployment insurance bill that overwhelmingly passed the United States Senate. But yes, we ought to be passing Make It in America bills as well to create job opportunities in the future. Today, I'm pleased to announce that we are adding two important legislative items to the Make It in America agenda. First, under the category of promoting U.S. exports, we are calling on Congress to reauthorize the Export-Import Bank before its current authorization expires on September 30th. Ranking Member Waters held a very, very important meeting and hearing and forum just this week on Export-Import Bank, and she'll be speaking to that. The XM Bank boosts exports, supports jobs, and reduces the deficit. We want to work with all stakeholders to ensure that the reauthorization can continue to have the broadest possible bipartisan support. As I said, Ms. Waters will be talking about that. The second item we are adding to the list is the America Competes Reauthorization Act, a comprehensive approach to the reauthorizing of the America Competes Act, which was adopted under Speaker Pelosi's leadership and Chairman Bart Gordon's leadership. When Democrats held the majority, we passed the Competes Act in 2007 and reauthorized it in 2010 in order to make strong investment in innovation and basic research, including initiatives to promote science, technology, engineering, and math, or, as you know, the STEM agenda. As our recovery continues, we look for ways to ensure the long-term competitiveness of our economy. We need to make sure that the Competes Act can continue to make these investments and expand on them. The ranking member of the Science and Tech Committee, Eddie Bernice Johnson, will be discussing the Competes Act. Businesses, labor organizations, and economists strongly support investments in innovation, and this is an area where we know Democrats and Republicans can work together successfully because we have already done so. The Committee on Science and Technology ranking member Eddie Bernice Johnson, as I said, will be discussing the current status of the Competes Act and the initiatives that she wants to make, that we support her making, to have a Competes Act that is worthy of its name. So at this point in time, let me now yield to Mr. Van Hollen, the ranking member of the Budget Committee, to discuss the budget implications regarding Make It in America. Mr. Van Hollen?
Thank you. I want to thank my friend and colleague from Maryland, Mr. Hoyer, for bringing us all together in the Make It in America agenda, and to all our colleagues here who've been part of that effort. If you look at the Congressional Republican budget, it's not a Make It in America budget. In fact, it says Make It Overseas. The Republican budget is a Make It Overseas budget, and here's why. Number one, it provides tax breaks and incentives for multinational corporations that ship American jobs overseas. We thought we wanted to be shipping American products overseas. Things made in America, ship those products overseas, not ship American jobs overseas. In addition, by disinvesting in things that have helped power our economy and make us grow, they're actually creating an incentive for businesses to go other parts of the world. If you look at China or Western Europe and other countries, some of our big economic competitors, they've looked at some of the things that have made our economy successful in the past, like our investment in scientific research, like our higher education system. And they've said, hey, that's a pretty good recipe for success. We're going to try and copy that to better compete for the United States. So in this House Republican budget, they actually attack the secrets of American success in terms of our past investments in those areas. And that will simply create incentives for more and more businesses to go elsewhere. So if you're one of our global economic competitors, you want Congress to pass the House Republican budget. You will be toasting if the House Republican budget passes, because it will mean more jobs and more economic development everywhere else in the world, and less jobs and economic development here in the United States. And the Congressional Budget Office has indicated that over the next couple of years, the House Republican budget will result in slower economic growth, and it will result in fewer jobs. And so that's exactly the direction we don't want to go. The direction we do want to go is the direction we've outlined in the Make It in America agenda. And so now I'm really pleased to turn it over to somebody who understands that investing in basic scientific research has been one of the great engines of opportunity in our country. It's what's kept us at the competitive edge in the global economy. Eddie Bernice Johnson.
Thank you. Thank you very much, and I want to thank Mr. Hoyer for his leadership and efforts to revitalize American manufacturing, and including H.R. 4159, the America Competes Reauthorization Act of 2014, as a part of the Make It in America budget plan. In 2007, Congress passed a bipartisan landmark legislation that originated in the House Committee on Science, Space, and Technology, based on recommendations from the 2005 National Academy's painstaking report, Rising Above the Gathering Storm. That report found that the scientific and technological building blocks critical to our economic leadership were eroding at a time when many nations were gaining strength. The America Competes Reauthorization Act of 2010 continued the committee's and the Congress's commitment to strengthen American competitiveness through sustained investment in science, innovation, and education. It is time to reauthorize America Competes legislation again. The America Competes Act of 2014 that I introduced along with my Democratic committee colleagues, Ranking Member Miller and Mr. Hoyer, renews our commitment to maintaining our scientific and technological leadership now and long into the future of supporting research, fostering innovation, supporting manufacturers and industry, and ensuring that we have a prepared workforce. I am concerned that if we are not willing to make these investments, and worse, if we roll back our level of investments, then we will lose a generation of STEM talent to other pursuits. Our capacity for science and innovation and our global economic competitiveness may never recover from such a loss. The chairman of the Science Committee has introduced competes-related legislation as well, and I hope that we can work together in a bipartisan manner to pass legislation that will make the much-needed investments in our science, innovation, and education enterprise. Just this morning, we passed from subcommittee the reauthorization for NASA, which was the second stab we've had at it, but this time it's bipartisan. And that essentially we will have long-term growth and prosperity if we continue to pass legislation that will promote it and support the innovation in this country. I truly believe that the America Competes Act of 2014 and the rest of the Make It in America agenda will ensure that the U.S. is positioned to meet the challenges. Without the passage of this legislation, I wonder about our future. Thank you.
Now, Maxine Waters, the ranking member of the Financial Services Committee.
Thank you very much. I'd like to first thank Whip Hoyer, and I know I speak for all of us who are strong supporters of the Export-Import Bank, when I thank you, Mr. Hoyer, for the central role you played in passing the bank's reauthorization last Congress, and for your ongoing efforts to ensure the bank's charter does not expire. As ranking member of the Financial Services Committee, I want to express my appreciation for making the XM Bank a core component of House Democrats' Make It in America plan for jobs and competitiveness. And Mr. Hoyer, I just want to tell you that this idea that you created for us in our caucus and the work that you have put into it on Make It in America has been a central theme that we have all played a role in, and we're so appreciative for the leadership that you have provided. So I was very pleased that Whip Hoyer joined me and Democratic members of the Financial Services Committee yesterday on a forum I organized to discuss the important role the bank plays in helping to create and sustain U.S. jobs. We heard from a diverse array of business owners who have been able to sell their products overseas, expand their businesses, and create jobs because of the assistance provided by the Export-Import Bank. These companies are the backbone of our economy, and the bank strengthens them in that important role. The statistics speak for themselves. Over the past 5 years, the bank has supported 1.2 million private sector jobs. And just last year, XM provided more than $11 billion in support to the manufacturing sector alone. Although the bank's programs provide essential support to businesses of all sizes, the majority of the bank's authorizations go to small businesses, which made up nearly 90% of total transactions last year. And finally, the bank doesn't cost taxpayers a dime. It's self-sustaining, and last year generated a record profit for taxpayers of more than $1 billion that went directly into the U.S. Treasury. But while the bank's success is clear, a number of far-right Republicans believe that the U.S. should abolish the bank. Doing so would undercut U.S. businesses, resulting in lost jobs and depressed economic growth. The September 30 expiration of the Export-Import Bank's charter is rapidly approaching. And in the Financial Services Committee, Republicans have not even scheduled a hearing to begin the important work on reauthorization. Today, The Democratic Party is once again calling on Republicans to end the uncertainty for American businesses and reauthorize XM quickly in order to support American jobs and exports. As we learned at yesterday's panel, our foreign competitors are already using this uncertainty to win contracts that would otherwise be going to U.S. businesses. At this critical time for our nation's economic recovery, we cannot afford another self-inflicted wound. I thank you, and now I would like to call on a member of the Financial Services Committee who has worked very hard trying to convince those on the opposite side of the aisle to join us in this reauthorization effort, Mr. Heck.
Thank you very much, Ranking Member Waters, for your leadership on this issue, in particular, your leadership in general, and Whip Hoyer. I cannot exaggerate my gratitude to you for including the Export-Import Bank reauthorization in the Make It in America package. You know, when Americans develop a better mousetrap, an improved product or service, the fact of the matter is the world notices. Companies, governments, and industries in countries everywhere, from South Africa to Turkey and in between, are potential customers for these well-crafted American-made products. And let's be clear about this. As the rest of the world is growing a middle class, America, which has only 5% of the world's population, needs to sell into it in order to keep our middle class. This issue is not and never has been about picking winners and losers. The XM Bank simply serves to bridge the gap between those who want American goods and services and Americans that have goods and services to sell. It's about leveling the playing field so that small operators have access to global markets just like big operators. In my district, in Fife, Washington, there's a small company named Pexco, which produces traffic control products you see on the road when repairs are being made. You know them, the orange cones and the raised curbs and reflective signs that block off traffic where it's not wanted, and they sell all over the world. Recently, a distributor in Denmark placed a $125,000 order for Pexco products, and it was the XM that enabled that to happen by guaranteeing that purchase. This is a small company in our area with 200 employees. This is not an inconsequential order for them, however, and it was the XM that was the reliable intermediary. You can multiply that story times 435 because it's happening in virtually every congressional district in this nation. So every month that we spend debating the merits of XM, instead of encouraging companies to explore the world market, our economy loses millions and billions of dollars in potential opportunities. The jobs in manufacturing stagnate. At the end of the day, this is about jobs. Ranking Member Waters stipulated the exact measure of it. So let's have a conversation, by all means, about how to maybe do it better, make it better. Let's have a conversation how to get the word out to businesses that they have yet to tap into their potential global markets. Let's talk about how to get our global economy or our domestic economy running even stronger and getting ahead of our global customers. But let's not lose sight of the fact that there is an existential threat to the XM Bank's reauthorization this year. On September 30, it could go away. And with it, the 205,000 jobs it created just last year. By the way, jobs that pay on average far above the national average. The chair of the Financial Services Committee at last year's oversight hearing on this subject opened up with these words, and I quote verbatim, "It is time to exit the XM Bank. The threat is real and existential. It is critically important to our nation's economy and every congressional district in this state that we reauthorize it." I want to conclude by thanking Whip Hoyer again for including the Export-Import Bank in the Make It in America package. It's a fitting piece for the overall mission, and it is so because the Export-Import Bank helps create good paying jobs in the manufacturing sector in America. Thank you, Whip Hoyer.
Thank you very much, Mr. Heck, and I want to thank Ms. Waters, Ranking Member of the Financial Services Committee, and Congresswoman Johnson, Ranking Member of the Science, Space, and Technology Committee. Thank her for both of them for their leadership. Let me say that one of the bills that we hope to include in the Competes Act is what Dan Lipinski sponsored and is the number one bill in our group, and that is we need a plan. We need a plan to compete with the rest of the world, to make sure that we make things in America and sell them around the world as well as here. That bill has been languishing, notwithstanding the fact it was passed out in a very strong bipartisan way. I think it was a voice vote out of the committee, but has not been brought to the floor. I've requested it be brought to the floor. It has not been. So we're going to try to conclude that in the Competes Act. We have some 49 other bills, including the two bills you've heard today, Competes and Export-Import, that are listed on our Make It in America agenda. We think that would help grow jobs, grow our economy, and ensure America's success in this century. We'll take any questions you might have. Yeah.
On XM, you mentioned the Republican opposition, and that certainly includes the chairman, Mr. Henson.
Yes.
Yet you were able to team with Mr. Cantor, the majority leader, in 2012 to get this through.
Yes.
And ranking member, you were able to team with Mr. Cantor to get the flood insurance bill through, despite Mr. Henson's opposition. So have you guys gotten any signal from Mr. Cantor on XM rechartering this year? And secondly, would you support a wind-down language aspect to a rechartering?
Well, let me have Ms. Waters speak to the wind down, and I'll have her speak to both of your questions. Let me say that I have had discussions, preliminary discussions with Mr. Cantor about moving forward on the Export-Import Bank. I won't say more than that, other than obviously everybody here indicates that's a priority. But let me have Ms. Waters speak to the other aspects of your question and the initial question as well.
Thank you very much. First of all, I do believe that there are many members on the opposite side of the aisle who are supportive of XM. And I do believe that if for some reason the chairman does not cooperate and participate in bringing forth the reauthorization, I do believe that the leadership would have to really take a look at how to get it done. I'm supportive of XM. I believe it, as someone said yesterday in the roundtable type activity that we had, that it's one of the best kept secrets in America. We had people there yesterday who talked about technical assistance that they get, who talked about insurance that they get, and certainly the loans are very, very important. And yesterday, we had such a diverse group. We had a young lady who packages pickles, who had received assistance from the bank, all the way to Boeing, who received substantial assistance. So I support the XM just as it operates, and I'm very pleased that we have an operation such as XM that puts $1 billion into the Treasury.
So it doesn't sound like you support wind down.
No, I do not.
Can I, let me add to that, and then I'm going to, Mr. Heck would like to say something. Mr. Hensling has a philosophical opposition to government's partnership with the private sector. I understand that. I respect his philosophical difference. We have a difference on that. There is almost, I talked about the Lipinski bill, the plan. There is almost, I don't think any country with which we compete that does not assist its enterprises in competing with us. So for us to walk away from our own entrepreneurs, our own enterprises, and to say you're on your own would be counterproductive to the creation of jobs, the growth of opportunity, and to make it in America. So philosophically, we have a difference of opinion. I respect Mr. Hensling's view. I simply do not agree with it. Let me yield to Mr. Hack.
The answer to the question as to whether I would, as one member of the committee, support a wind down is not just no, but hell no. Whip Hoyer said in part what I wanted to make sure you all understood. For us to exit the XM Bank would be tantamount to unilateral disarmament. It would leave us the only developed country in the world without an export credit authority of some type. And in fact, most other countries participate as a percentage of GDP, at least to the level that we do. But let me reinforce the point being made earlier about the existential threat and that which Ranking Member Waters referred to. At this forum yesterday, Mr. Wilburn from California, and we can get you the information if you need it, threw away his prepared remarks, took out his phone and said, I just want you to know I just lost a I think it was $57 million order just now. I just read it. And I lost it in part because my competitor, which I think he said was from China, persuaded the purchaser that the XM might not be around. And that cost Americans jobs. The very threat is costing America's jobs and doing us harm and should not be allowed to stand.
Yeah, I was there, it was China. Yes.
Since this debate comes up every couple of years, would you push for the XM Bank to be authorized for a longer period? And do you think this lending cap should be increased? I think the last authorization increased it by 30%.
Yeah, we're in communication with Mr. Hochberg and the bank to see what their authority needs to be. As you know, we increased it last time with Mr. Cantor and I, working with Ms. Waters and others on the committee, so that we are certainly amenable to upping the level so that we can be competitive and have the headroom to participate. As was said earlier, this does not, I think Maxine Waters said, this doesn't cost the taxpayer any money. This is simply the authority that they have to operate. A longer term, I would be supportive of a longer term, but whether it's a short term or a long term, we need to get it done ASAP so that we don't have the people losing contracts because people are not confident that they're going to have some support for their contracts, for their sales. Maxine, did you want to add to that?
Yeah, there was a rumor that the chairman would support a reauthorization with a lot of conditions, and one of those might be that it would be reauthorized for a very short period of time, like 2 years or less. And I don't support that at all. As a matter of fact, I'm a supporter who would like to see a 10-year reauthorization because, as it has been said time and time again, uncertainty is a big problem for business. They need to know and understand where their support is going to come from. They need to be able to make projections. They need to be able to do business in a way that will guarantee that their hard work and their investments will pay off. And so uncertainty is a killer, and I support long term. Of course, we may get into some negotiations that may cause it to be a shorter term reauthorization, but certainly when you start to talk about 18 months and 2 years, et cetera, that's unacceptable.
Let me point out to you, I think some of you may remember, but in the vote that we took, 93 Republicans opposed the reauthorization of the Export-Import Bank, but as I recall, 125 Republicans supported. So a majority of the Republican Party, including Mr. Cantor, obviously the majority leader, supported this reauthorization.
We're going to have these budgets on the floor, alternatives to the Ryan budget this afternoon, and one effort is...
Have two of the four, yeah.
Right. One effort here in the next day or so is by Mick Mulvaney, which is a substitute that's his interpretation, I guess, of the president's budget. What do you make when they trot these out? Because, the president's budget ostensibly doesn't get a vote, and I presume the idea is they want to say, so-and-so didn't vote for it. Why didn't the Democrats vote for that?
Yeah, it's politics. It's totally politics. If you were serious about offering the president's budget, would you give 10 minutes to each side? Would you give 10 minutes to each side for a budget that runs 2,000 pages in length? They talked about reading the bills. 20 minutes? A second per page? I don't know that it extrapolates to a second per page, but you get my point. The fact of the matter is, this is not a serious effort. And frankly, we Democrats have done that in the past, offered the president's budget. And the administration, as you probably know, you probably just got it in your phone, not a contract cancellation, but the OMB has put out, they think this is a joke. They don't think it's real. We think the administration believes that the Van Hollen Democratic alternative budget reflects the values and the focus on investments in growing the economy that the administration's budget offers. My own view is if this were a serious effort, Then they would have had hearings on the president's budget. They would have had extensive debate on the president's budget, and they would have allowed us extensive time to argue the president's budget, which is vastly superior to the Ryan alternative.
But if it is, you know, you said that your party has done that when we've had a Republican
Yeah.
president in office. Doesn't this point to the problem with the budget process? That all this is aspirational, everybody puts up these various documents to try to back one side or the other in the corner, and, you know, the argument, we don't even technically have to do a budget this year because of the Ryan Murray December agreement, yet here we are. Doesn't that demonstrate that this is just all, you know, playing game?
Well, you know, I'm 23 years on the Appropriations Committee, and the appropriators pretty much think they can do this job. But having said that, the budget does give you the opportunity to lay out your values and your vision. The vision that Mr. Ryan sets forth is a vision of retreat, of disinvestment, as I said earlier, of we can't get this job done, we'll just let others do it, of you're on your own. Our budget reflects a vision that we're on your side. Our budget reflects a vision of investment, not disinvestment, in growing America, investing in infrastructure and education and innovation, so that we think that there is a purpose to these budgets. But yes, in the final analysis, what a budget does, it sets the allocation of discretionary spending. And that's already been done in the Ryan Murray alternative. As you know, I voted against that budget. I voted for the omnibus because I thought that it missed the opportunity. The Ryan budget misses the opportunity to come together in a bipartisan fashion and do a big deal, a deal that puts America on a 10-year fiscally sustainable path, that gives confidence to business. Maxine Waters is so right. And the Republicans, by the way, talked a lot about giving business confidence.
That's right.
They have done anything but over the last 3.5 years. They've undermined confidence. They've taken us to the brink on budget deficit, debt limit. They've taken us to the brink on the adoption of budgets. They've shut down the government, all of which has undermined the confidence of the business community and hurt the business community and the growth of jobs.
Last question.
Mr. Hoyer, is there levels of common interest with the Republicans you can work together and pass immediately? Things like more H-1B visas to get high-skilled immigrants into the country.
I'm glad you asked that question. For this purpose, we believe that one of the ways we've made it in America, because so many people have come to America to make it. So many people from throughout the world have brought their enterprising skills, their risk-taking willingness, their courage and their talents to America and have grown an extraordinary economy in the world. And as a result, they've made it in America, and they've made opportunities for others to make it in America. So we believe that there ought to be a comprehensive immigration bill, not pick it apart and take out one little segment that somebody likes. That's why the high-tech community that's very interested in the H-1Bs is very much for a comprehensive immigration bill, as is 70+% of the American public, as is the Chamber of Commerce, as is the AFL-CIO, as are faith groups across the board, and 72% of Americans. The only group that I can find that's not for comprehensive immigration reform are the Republicans right now in the House of Representatives. That's the only group I can find. The Senate was for it, the American public's for it, businesses for it, labor's for it, growers are for it, workers are for it. We want to see a comprehensive bill. If you start picking out individual items, the fear correctly is you'll take that item, and that item, and leave the rest of it behind. This is not only an economic issue, this is a moral issue. And by the way, one of the things the Ryan budget does not do, it does not include comprehensive immigration reform, and therefore gives up $1 trillion scored by CBO, $200 billion in the next 10 years, another $800 billion in the second 10 years, over 20 years, $1 trillion benefit to budget reduction and deficit reduction by the passage of comprehensive immigration reform. So we ought not to take individual items that individual groups like. The system is broken. Mr. Cantor says the system is broken. We need to fix the system with a comprehensive bill.
Thank you.
We done? Let me do one last question.
Something that's been in the news a fair amount frequently. Steve Ellison and David Todd were very interested in that Michael Lewis book that came out because they've got legislation that they think might get another run at trying to put a transaction tax on high frequency trading. Mr. Lewis has said repeatedly that the stock market might actually be rigged against ordinary Americans. And in the vein of making it American, keeping jobs here, I'm wondering if you and Representative Waters might think that there's anything that needs to be done on high frequency trading.
Look, I think we're going to have a lot of discussion on revenues and how to fund the priorities of the American people, and we'll be discussing that, but we're not going to go into it today. Thank you.